Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. We are jumping right into one of the absolute most fascinating debates going on in cognitive science today. I mean, you hear it literally all the time, right? Technology is rotting our brains, short-form content is destroying our attention spans, the younger generations are completely losing their intellectual edge. But what if that's just entirely wrong? What if human cognition isn't actually degrading at all, but is instead going through this massive structural evolution? Today, we are going to explore an incredible analysis of the modern mind, directly comparing traditional ways of problem solving with the hyper-connected habits of Gen Z. So the core question we have to ask is this: is Gen Z actually genuinely smarter? Or are they just crazy efficient at Googling things? Seriously, think about it in your own day-to-day life. When was the last time you actually memorized a phone number or a recipe versus just knowing exactly what keywords to punch into a search bar to pull it up in half a second? We're going to rapid fire through the data today to figure out if our heavy reliance on digital search is some sort of fatal flaw or if it's actually an evolutionary leap in human intelligence. Just look at the sheer contrast here. On one side, you have that classical, almost romantic ideal of intelligence, right? A brain on a pedestal, representing deep, isolated thought, geometry, internal reflection. But then, on the other side, you've got this glowing, hyper-connected, AI-driven digital brain. And this perfectly captures the tension we're exploring today. Are we abandoning that beautiful classical structure, or are we just plugging it into a limitless digital matrix? Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, Theseus and the Modern Mind. To really wrap our heads around this cognitive shift, we've got to look at a classic philosophical metaphor that actually perfectly explains modern internet culture. It's called the ship of Theseus. Now imagine this historic, beautiful wooden ship. Over a long period of time, the wood naturally rots, and piece by piece, every single original wooden plank is removed and replaced with a brand new synthetic one. Once every single original part is gone, is it still the same ship? That's the paradox. Keep this concept firmly in the back of your mind, because this is exactly what is happening to the way we think. Let's map this onto Gen Z's brains. Basically, our minds are the ship. The old, original wooden planks represent deep, isolated internal memory. You know, the raw cognitive processing that required us to memorize facts, retain random trivia, and spend hours physically wandering library aisles looking for a source. Now, think about the synthetic replacements. High-speed search operators, hyper-optimized AI prompts, algorithmic discovery engines. If we replace all of our internal rote memory with external digital tools, the big question is our intellectual identity still intact? Moving right along to Section 2, Archival versus Networked Brains. And this brilliantly illustrates the shift, cracking the code between two completely different cognitive operating systems. On one side, we have the archival mind, and on the other, the networked mind. Take data storage, for example. The archival mind relies heavily on internalized memory banks, whereas the networked mind uses cloud-based indexing. For Gen Z, it's not about knowing what a fact is, it's knowing exactly where to find it. Now, look at problem solving. Traditional thinkers use very linear logic, a lot of trial and error. The Gen Z networked mind? It's all about lateral processing, pattern recognition, and prompt engineering. The speed goes from slow and methodical to totally instantaneous and scalable. And honestly, perhaps the most crucial difference is cognitive flex. The traditional mind relies on endurance for deep focus. The modern mind, it relies on elite-level curation, media literacy, and rapidly filtering information. So what actually happens when you pit these two against each other? The source text shares this really fascinating hypothetical benchmark. Imagine trapping both minds in a room with a complex, multi-layered riddle. The archival mind is sitting there, scratching its head, trying to recall old formulas and logically deduce the answer step by step. But the networked mind? Literally within seconds, it's already reverse-engineered the syntax of the riddle, cross-referenced 3 completely different subreddits, validated the answer with an advanced search query, and solved the whole thing before the archival mind has even found a pen. It is just a completely different game. Which brings us to Section 3, the digital amnesia optimization. You know, older generations often look at this exact behavior and hit us with that classic boomer take. Gen Z's attention spans are completely cooked. But this brings us to a well-documented psychological shift known as the Google effect, or digital amnesia. Studies actually show that when people know information is readily available online, their brains actively choose not to memorize the fact itself. Instead, they memorize how to find it. And the source text is super clear about this. We absolutely shouldn't view this as a glitch in the human brain. It is a deliberate, highly efficient feature of the modern mind. And the logic behind this optimization strategy breaks down into 3 brilliant steps. First, You outsource your raw data storage. I mean, why waste your brain's precious internal RAM storing raw data points like random coding syntax or historical dates when you can access them in exactly 0.2 seconds via a search bar? Second, by outsourcing that data, you instantly free up cognitive bandwidth. And third, you take that freed up bandwidth and use it to execute high-level synthesis. It is a highly calculated trade-off. You are trading static memory for dynamic processing power. Because let's face it, we aren't just passive consumers of information anymore. We are professional curators. In a world that is completely drowning in data, simple rote memorization just isn't that useful. What is useful, and what actually represents a far higher order cognitive skill, is the ability to rapidly filter out misinformation, optimize complex search queries to find exactly what you need, and leverage AI tools to do the heavy lifting for you. This right here, this is the new elite cognitive skill set. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is, well, Section 4, when the engine glitches. Because we have to acknowledge that this system does have inherent vulnerabilities. Exploring the dark side of the Ship of Theseus paradox forces us to stop for a second and ask a really uncomfortable question. Who are you when you're offline? If your entire intellectual identity is tethered to a digital network, what actually happens when you lose the connection? See, there is a massive difference between a tool acting as an exoskeleton and having an eroded mind. On one hand, we have healthy algorithmic mastery. That's using the tool to reinforce your intellect, combining your own raw, independent critical thinking with elite digital literacy. In that scenario, the technology amplifies you. But on the other hand, we have the eroded mind. If a creator relies 100% on algorithmic trend spotting, or a student uses search optimization just to completely bypass reading the material altogether, well, the foundational planks of the mind aren't being replaced or augmented. They are simply being eroded away. Let's bring this all together in Section 5, redefining intellectual identity. So what does it actually mean to be highly intelligent right now, looking ahead to 2026? The final verdict from the analysis is that Gen Z is completely redefining it. Being smart today is no longer about being a walking encyclopedia. It is about being an absolute master of the information ecosystem. Our intellectual identity isn't lost just because the old wooden planks of our cognitive ship have been swapped out for fiber optic cables. The ship of the human mind is still sailing. It's just moving at hyperspeed now. I want to highlight this one quote directly from the text because it absolutely cements what this explainer is all about. The real flex isn't pretending we don't need the tools, it's proving we are the ones driving them. That's it right there. True intelligence today is maintaining control over the technology, making sure it stays our exoskeleton and never becomes our replacement. Which leaves us with one final, absolutely crucial question for you to consider about your own networked mind. Are you driving your algorithm, or is your algorithm driving you? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Take a moment today to really think about the planks on your own cognitive ship, and I'll catch you in the next one.